Hey guys, welcome back to Dig It with Raven. I have an amazing treat for you guys today. I've brought over some of my crew from the Amsterdam Troy Project for us to react to the 2004 epic Troy. Oh yes, it's very exciting because, you know, even though we can't go to Troy this year because of what's happening, we're still gonna just sit down, have some food, enjoy this movie, and just pretty much just rag all over it and just drop some knowledge for you. So it's we're watching the director's cut. It's going to be freaking long, so this is going to be divided up into 3 parts. So make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss a single one. Without further ado, let me go and introduce the fan to you.
Ooh, Troy. I don't remember it being so gloomy.
So before we get too into the movie itself, let's talk about the poems that inspired it. I'm sure we've all heard of Homer's epic, the Iliad, when we talk about the Trojan War, but it only covers a very small part of this 10-year war, from about the rage of Achilles with Agamemnon to Hector's death. So it's only a very small portion of this Trojan War itself, the events leading up to it. So if the war lasted the 10 years that the legend says it does, then we're missing a whole lot of the story. That's where the epic cycle comes in. The epic cycle is a collection of Greek poems all written in the same design, and they all relate to events around the Trojan War. There are 8 epic poems altogether if we include Homers Iliad and Odyssey, and if we read them all, we can sort of piece together the entire story of the Trojan War. Without these other works, we wouldn't know the lead up to the war, about the death of Achilles, or even about the Trojan horse. So the movie takes a lot of these separate poems, smushes them together, and then adds a ridiculous amount of Hollywood flair to get what we have with this 2004 epic film.
Where do you think they cast the dog?
Right.
Those are the questions you should be asking.
Men are haunted by the vastness of eternity.
Where is this supposed to be? I mean,
Thessaly.
yeah, like it's ever this luscious green and Alright.
It is in spring.
This is the rainy.
Yeah.
This is the rainy season.
This is the one green day in Thessaly.
This is not true.
Achilles!
But.
Bueller.
Now we're gonna see his butt.
I want to see his butt. Woo. Gabe's into it too. Yeah.
Yes!
A Thessalonian you're fighting. He's the biggest man I've ever seen. I wouldn't want to fight him.
That's why no one will remember your name.
Isn't Achilles supposed to be from Thessaly?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, but that's really strange. He's like the Thessalonian you're fighting. He is a Thessalonian.
Your neighbor.
Like it's white. Yeah, exactly. You're from exactly.
I also just don't know what Agamemnon is wearing.
No, his jeweled outfit. Cool. Regarding the armor of the soldiers in this movie, there's way too much metal on these armor plates in general. I mean, and anyway, the poorer soldiers would have not had like metal armor anyway. They would probably be bare-chested or just have their large shields and just line in tunics or something. This does not make sense. Achilles' helmet is very Corinthian in style, which dates to like the 8th century BCE. So that would be like 400 years after this war would have taken place. So that's a little too late. And that's just the early versions. I mean, helmets like the one Achilles is wearing could have been like 700 years later than when this movie should have taken place. It is understandable that they would use these helmets though, because they are most recognizable, iconic, and we all love them. It would in fact have been really nice if they would have shown us the boar tusk helmets in the movie, because we actually have archaeological evidence for those type of helmets, which were like leather mostly with a filled lining and then boar tusks sewn into it so they would stick out on the outside, so everyone would look really scary and I don't know, would have been kind of impressive. These boar helmets might have gone a little bit out of style already by the time the Trojan War took place, but they would have probably been still been used alongside like bronze helmets or helmets with feathers or horns, and we've got evidence for all of those. So that would have been nice. As for the rest of the armor, a lot of it would have actually been small metal plates stitched to either leather or linen, which would make it quite easy to wear. We also found archaeological evidence of like a lot of armor that wasn't as sexy or free-flowing as they show them to be in the movie. So this armor consisted of really big bronze plates. So that was quite flexible for fighting, as it protected like your shoulders and your chest and the most delicate parts, but it would weigh around like 40 pounds, so not as nice. On the other hand, they did a really good job on the kilts that they show in this movie, because we have definitely found evidence of those as well.
The ruler of Thessaly carries this scepter. Give it to your king.
What is this thing with the ruler of Thessaly carries this scepter anyway?
Don't you know? It's this fancy scepter.
Oh,
They haven't discovered that yet?
Oh.
We're still looking for it.
May the gods keep the wolves in the hills and the women in our beds.
Poseidon has blessed our voyage. Sometimes the gods bless you in the morning and curse you in the afternoon.
For the gods! For the gods!
For the gods.
For the gods.
Are they just throwing liquid anytime on the ground?
But there's always someone to clean it up, obviously.
Yeah, but
For the
supposed to have
homies.
like a libation bowl and everything, like the entire
stone and
the equipment.
Otherwise it doesn't count. Otherwise
It's just like,
spilled drinks.
It's just like well, every stone would just be stained with water everywhere.
One major thing that the movie doesn't do is involve Greek gods at all. Whereas in the poems, in the Iliad, the stories of everyone involved in the Trojan War are heavily influenced by the gods. Within the poems, the gods even take sides. For example, Apollo is the one who casts the plague upon the Greeks, or even just a small act of directing an arrow. The one Paris shoots at Achilles and, well, directing him to the very part where Achilles is actually vulnerable, his Achilles heel. Aphrodite, the goddess of love, is the one who makes Paris fall in love, and also the one who helps him throughout the war by actually saving his life. Poseidon and Athena helped the Greeks, and well, we could go on and on and on. In the movie, they do completely away with the gods, which is a bit disappointing, because that would have been great as to see how they would have, well, portrayed those superhuman beings, basically. But it's also understandable in the sense that, well, it's gonna be a little bit more dramatic, also a little bit more confusing if you're gonna add like a whole set of characters which can do basically anything they want but don't have any morality. It's a shame, but it's also understandable, but it makes also a little bit more clear how decisions are made into the movie. So Helen makes up her own mind of joining Paris to Troy. Hector protects Paris instead of Aphrodite, and well, Odysseus is also always the one to calm Achilles down instead of his mom, who was also a goddess.
Princes of Troy, on our last night together, Queen Helen and I salute you.
This is Helen.
Helen? Helen of Sparta?
Helen of Troy.
Sparta was never my home. My parents sent me there when I was 16 to marry Menelaus.
Helen of Troy, the woman who started it all. So Helen was actually the daughter of Tyndareus and Leda, but the myth goes that she was actually fathered by Zeus, which would explain why she was so incredibly beautiful and amazing. In any case, she was considered to be the most beautiful woman of her time, and young men from all over Greece, they just flocked to her and they all wanted to marry her. So many suitors. Whether this was about her beauty or due to the fact that she was super wealthy and had a lot of goods that she would bring to the table, we don't know, but she was wealthy, very wealthy. Whether she went with Paris willingly is a bit of a contested story, but we can be sure that she was very rich, and it has been stressed before that she did not matter that much for a men's perspective, but her wealth definitely did. So Helen in fact chose Menelaus to be her husband, and he was at the time a prince of Mycenaean, so that's how he got to the throne. So this marriage was very beneficial for him as well. There's different versions of how Helen actually ended up with Paris. In the Iliad, she was abducted. But then we also have the poet Sappho, who's awesome, by the way. And she says that Helen actually willingly left her husband and her 9-year-old daughter to be with Paris. The sources are very contradictory, but in the end, I mean, they make up for a great story.
If you come, we'll never be safe. Men will hunt us. The gods will curse us. But I'll love you.
I think the plot would have been helped in this movie if they put in Aphrodite at all.
Right, the gods and you figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, they just did it because...
Otherwise, their character motivations make no sense
Right.
other than just
I'm just
being
a stupid human.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen that human stupidity is pretty large, so
True,
kinda
true.
believable.
The last time you spoke to me like this, you were 10 years old and you'd just stolen Father's horse. What have you done now?
In his movie, by the way, he didn't grow up in the mountains because he was just talking about him being 10 years old.
Exactly.
And
He's a family.
Oh,
He's part of the family. He wasn't abandoned.
Yeah, he wasn't
Yeah.
abandoned at all. He was just being a little wee brother.
There's no prophecy in this movie about Paris. Everyone watching at home, Paris was not supposed to be with the royalty in Troy because they figured out that he would end Troy. And look what he did! They abandoned it.
Oops.
I guess they got the lions right, but they wouldn't be there.
Nope.
But like, there were lions at Mycenaean, so...
Close enough. Good job.
Like 50%.
Yeah, I'll give it to him.
They had
Yeah, but they were in front of the gate.
Yep.
It was not even in the palace.
But they tried. They did it. That's why I say B+, you know? They put the lions.
We didn't see the entrance. Maybe there's more lions out front.
There's another one.
I always thought my brother's wife was a foolish woman, but she's proved to be very useful. Nothing unifies a people like a common enemy.
They did this right. As in, like, who cares about the woman?
Yeah.
We want to have Troy.
We just want a war.
We want to fight.
I want my glory.
Yeah.
I want people to sing songs with my name.
Yeah.
I sure I missed that. No one's gonna sing songs about me.
Do you want to have songs sing about you? Because then you have to be a master.
A master?
That's what
Troy falls.
It's true. That's true. Ooh.
Nervous? Petrified.
Oh, look! You can feel the tension. Look at that. Oh, yeah.
Patroclus, my cousin.
Okay, so let's talk about the relationship between Achilles and Patroclus, because I'm sure a lot of you have heard stories or have different ideas as to what they might be, or maybe you read the Song of Achilles, which I highly recommend. Excellent book, and in that book they're lovers. So, you know, are they cousins? Are they lovers? Who are they? The relationship between Achilles and Patroclus is never explicitly defined in Homer's Iliad, but it is generally accepted that they were cousins, but they were never cousins in every single story. There's always this debate in the classics world if they were lovers or not, but we do know that they were probably distant cousins, like cousins once removed, and Homer does state that they had a very deep and meaningful relationship. And you can see this sort of in the movie as well. Achilles is very brash and arrogant around other people, but then with Patroclus, he's much more soft and tender and understanding. They were never actually said to be lovers in the Iliad, but in archaic and classical Greece, they are depicted as lovers in art, in writing, so the Greeks themselves even just kind of assumed that, you know, they were getting it on. The movie really tries to paint Brad Pitt as Achilles in this very macho, tough guy persona. And, you know, with Hollywood and the early 2000s and all that drama, I'm sure they didn't want to make Patroclus and Achilles hot for one another because it would have just hurt everyone's fragile masculinity. For me, it's really disappointing because the whole love story and the relationship between Achilles and Patroclus is probably one of the most amazing parts of the Iliad because it causes so much to happen. In the movie, Patroclus and Achilles are portrayed as very close cousins, and Patroclus is supposed to be much younger than Achilles. But in reality, Patroclus is older than Achilles because he's actually used as the voice of reason to try and get Achilles to fight again in the war. This is probably just Hollywood making everything a little bit more dramatic. You know, when Patroclus dies, he's only a child, and then Hector feels guilty, and all this other stuff that kind of just, it makes for really good Hollywood storytelling.
We're sending the largest fleet that ever sailed. 1,000 ships.
You know you want to be part of that, right? You want to set a Guinness World Record with us?
Exactly. Y'all ain't gonna be in the records book.
If you go to Troy, you'll never come home. For your glory walks hand in hand with your doom.
He's like, cool, sounds good. Yeah. He's like, glory? Give me some of that.
You know this to be true, Mother.
I know this.
Are you sure that I'm gonna be famous?
Are you lying
I'm not
from
dying for
nothing?
So the legend goes that if Achilles went to war, he would die. He would never come back. But his decision to go to war wasn't based on a chat with Odysseus or even his mom. No, not at all. His mother Thetis was a sea nymph, actually disguised Achilles as a girl because she didn't want him to die, and placed him under the protection of King Lycomedes, a king far away from the kingdom in which Achilles lived. And well, he played there as a girl for a long time. The Greeks came to get him because, well, they wanted him to be there because he was supposed to be the best warrior ever. So they needed him on his side. But, well, since he was still disguised as a girl, they decided to play a trick. In order to, like, reveal him as this warrior longing for battle, they threw a bunch of stuff right into the middle of the room, and well, instead of all the girls who went for the girly stuff in there, Achilles just decided to go for the weapons because, well, he was a boy. You can take the man out of the fight, but you can't take the fight out of the man. Basically, that's the whole moral of the story. Thanks so much, you guys, for watching part 1 of our Troy reaction series. Hope you're having a lot of fun with it. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on the other 2 that are going to be coming up really, really soon. If you want to follow all of our Amsterdam Troy adventures, because even though we're not digging, we're still doing lots of other things like free lectures, we're doing Instagram lives, all this stuff. Make sure you're following the Amsterdam Troy Project on all of their socials here. Here are all of my socials. Big thank you to all of my patrons over on Patreon. If you guys want to support the channel and just help me get paid because I make no money off these videos, go ahead and become a patron on Patreon. The link is in my description down below. And as always, stay dirty, my friends.